Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rec Chat, where students and professionals talk about all things in collegiate recreation. I'm going to be your host today, helping our conversation. My name is Stephanie Calhoun. I work at West Virginia University, where I'm a coordinator for competitive sports. Thanks for joining us today, either live via YouTube or through the archived YouTube channel if you're watching this in the future. So joining us behind the scenes today from the Rec Chat team is going to be Rochelle Williams from Western Washington University, Greg Durham from Creighton University, and Stephanie Fung from the University of California, Davis. So thank you all for your help making this show a success. We're excited to have the student leadership team join us today. For those of you following on Twitter or on Instagram, we're going to be asking questions using the @RecChat handle. So if you have any questions for the SLT throughout the duration of the call, feel free to tweet @RecChat and we'll ask them those questions. Before we introduce our panelists, we want to share our gratitude for our friends at NERSA headquarters and their support of all things Rec Chat. If you haven't already, make sure to give them a follow on Instagram or Twitter. The handle is @NERSALive. We also want to make sure if you're new to Rec Chat or if you haven't followed us before, that you're following us on Instagram and Twitter, YouTube, all of the social medias. Our hashtag is RecChat and our @RecChat handle is the best way to follow us. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and let our panelists start introducing themselves. We have the student leadership team. So if you could tell us about your name, your position, where you're working, your institution, and what your favorite movie is. We'll start with you, Tanika.
Hi everyone, my name is Tanika Santos. I'm the NERSA student leader. I'm currently at the University of Kentucky and my favorite movie is The Help.
Hi everyone, my name is Ross Quasi. I am the Canada student leader. I am a graduate student at Western University, and my favorite movie is The Dark Knight.
Hi everyone, my name is Maeve McKinney. I'm currently the Region 1 student leader working at Rowan University, and my favorite movie is V for Vendetta.
Emily Murphy wasn't able to join us here today. She's the Region 2 student leader at West Virginia University. Her favorite movie is Remember the Titans.
Hi, I'm Karen David. I'm the Region 3 student leader, currently in my second year, grad student at the University of Dayton. And my favorite movie is Disney Pixar's Cars.
Hello, I'm Grayson Graham. I'm the Region 4 student leader. I'm currently the intramural graduate assistant at Emporia State, and my favorite movie is Glory Road.
Hi everyone, my name's Kate Nail. I'm currently a graduate assistant at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. I'm the Region 5 student leader, and my favorite movie is The Goonies.
Hello, I'm Adam McClanahan, the Region 6 student leader. I'm currently the competitive sports graduate assistant at Utah State University, and my favorite movie is A Knight's Tale.
Thank you all. So we'll get started with some of the more not difficult, you'll be great, but questions about yourself. So can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, how you got involved in campus recreation, and why you wanted to become a student leader?
So for me, I'd been a competitive athlete my entire life, playing soccer ever since I could walk. And coming into the collegiate realm, it was just overwhelming for me. And I was trying to find a new place that I could sort of call home, find my family, and campus recreation really caught me there. I started as a kickboxing instructor and then got my personal training certification and sort of went down the path that most people in fitness kind of follow. And so my first Region 2 conference is where I was led by my GA to attend a little bit more of the NERSA leadership and the student lead-on activities, and then encouraged when applications came out my first year, my graduate assistantship last year, to apply. And ever since, it's just been a ride.
That's really awesome, Tanika. I had a similar story, kind of transitioning out of high school from that competitive sport realm into that recreational sport realm. In my undergraduate degree at Wilfrid Laurier University, the first few days I saw a post to be a intramural referee. So I thought, hey, why not? And ever since then, I continued within the intramural program there, eventually becoming the intramural coordinator. Now, I heard of NERSA while I was there, but I never got involved. I heard there was a lead on, but I didn't go. So when I started my graduate degree here at Western, I had an opportunity while working in the recreation department here to attend my first lead on. and that was history. Then this opportunity came up for the position, and I went for it.
So similar to both Tanika and Ross, played sports my whole life, started college and sort of needed a job, and my friend suggested that I start reffing basketball. So I went to ref basketball and fell in love, and just sort of kept working for intramurals at University of Maryland as an undergrad. Luckily, I had the opportunity to work for NERSA flag football tournaments and basketball tournaments while I was working there. That sort of initially exposed me to NERSA, and then my senior year, I went to both the Region 1 conference and the national conference, and I just saw the student leadership team and saw what they embodied and knew that I wanted to, give back to the organization through a leadership position such as Region 1 student leader.
Very similar to a lot of other stories that we've heard. I did my undergrad at Ohio State, and I was a work study student. So I went down to my front desk of my dorm, said I'd like a job. They said, "You're not hired." So I went across the street to one of our small satellite facilities at Ohio State, said, "I'm CPR certified. Can I have a job?" And they said, "You're hired." Worked there for about a year. We got a new GA who was involved with Region 3 lead on, and it was at Ohio State. So he said, "Hey, you should go to this. It will make me look good." We went, okay. So me and a group of my coworkers went to lead on, and I fell in love with it. I was extremely inspired by the people who were there and what NERSA and Region 3 kind of stood for. And so after that, I worked with my mentors, my supervisors, other people within the region, and worked my way up to the graduate assistant position I have now. And I wanted to give back, and the best way I thought was, let's be the Region 3 student leader. So that's how I got here.
Yeah, I feel like my story is kind of unconventional. I didn't work in the campus rec. I didn't really find campus rec until my last year of undergrad at Oklahoma State. And like previously stated, I officiated some extramural tournaments through NERSA, and that's kind of all I knew about what NERSA was. The graduate assistants I was around and the professional staff were really just uplifting, and they just taught me about what NERSA was and the opportunities that it makes and I can go through. So with that, worked 1 year at campus rec and just decided, you know what, this is something I'm very passionate about and want to continue in my career. So applied for graduate assistantship, and I got it. But the big thing was I love the student development side of everything that NERSA does. And so that's the reason why I got to the position I am now. I just want to help out as many students as I can and teach them everything I possibly can know about NERSA.
My story is also pretty similar. I did my undergrad at Southern Illinois University in Carbondale. I came in as a pre-med student, did that for a few years. I started working at campus rec my sophomore year, and I found that pre-med wasn't for me. I didn't really like to study, so I didn't do so well in that. But the whole time I was working at campus rec, I was able to form like really close relationships with my coworkers and the graduate assistants, and learn more about campus recreation as a career. So I switched my major to recreation administration and found that not only do I love campus rec, I love community rec. I love it all. So I worked in member services. I worked as a building manager. I worked in intramurals and competitive sports. I worked for the local parks department. And so I became really involved with that. And then also with Region 3 student lead on and URSA, I had the opportunity to get a little more involved with NERSA. So I really enjoyed that. And after I finished at SIU, I took an internship with the University of Denver and continued to attend these NERSA conferences and, kind of stay up on it. And then when I came to University of Nebraska, I was encouraged by one of my mentors here to apply for the position. So that's kind of how I got into the position.
Yeah, like everyone else pretty much got into it in undergrad. I played intramural softball my freshman year and was like, this umpire is not doing what I want them to do. I could do this better. So found out that wasn't until the spring again. So I started doing flag football and basketball and then softball. Became a supervisor and then a student coordinator. And I really loved everyone in recreation. So I diversified. I went to camps, to facilities, to aquatics. And I just kind of put my hand in everything, including student development. And I was like, I really enjoy this. I really want to keep doing it. So I looked for an opportunity to expand and hopefully stay within Region 6. And I found that here at Utah State. So I'm the competitive sports graduate assistant. And I really fell in love with NERSA when I went to the Boston conference, and went to the student lead on, seeing what they did and what they put on and how they were really role models and leaders really inspired me. So when it came to the Region 6 regional conference last year, I volunteered and I got a chance to talk to the previous leaders and really realized that this is something that I wanted to do and get involved with, and continue to stay involved in my time as a graduate assistant. So that's me.
Awesome, thank you all. I feel like a lot of people can relate to those stories, so I appreciate you sharing. The next question is for Tanika. So what projects is the SLT currently working on, and what do you anticipate the legacy to be for this leadership team?
So a lot of the things we're working on right now are entirely virtual. Our big topics are our monthly student perspective caucuses. So we've had a few and took a little break to kind of refocus on what the topics we really wanted to address were. We started off with reopening and then went a little bit more into social justice and getting panelists and people who were co-hosting with us that were giving new perspectives from across the regions, and wanting to continue that conversation with a few different opportunities in the future that we're looking at as we're kind of drafting through ways that we're going to elaborate on Give to Grow and create something that's specifically from our 2020-2021 year. And with that, I definitely think the impact is absolutely going to be all about authenticity, having those deeper conversations that we might not be able to engage in at a regular conference. It's not the easiest to bring up. And so having those spaces where we can really bring in that diversity and inclusion perspective, as well as resiliency. I think when anyone thinks of 2020, they're really going to be remembering what humanity was able to do and get through. And so I would hope that our student leadership team is also a symbol of that as well.
Absolutely. It sounds like y'all are making the most of your time. So I know you hinted on it a little, but how have you all adapted your position given COVID?
So over here in Canada, we're really trying to have a positive outlook on things. So we're actually using this as an opportunity for us to unite all of the provinces. So our student lead on this year, for example, it usually only happens in Ontario because Canada is so large of a region. But this year, because we're going to be hosting it online, we're looking to unite schools that maybe never got the opportunity to go to a conference together. So we're really using this as an opportunity for ourselves to grow together.
Grayson, what do you think about Region 4?
Sorry, I have some technical difficulties here. Well, I think the blessing in COVID's been a blessing for Region 4 in the sense that it's really brought some unity to Region 4. We've kind of had not really separation, but some of the smaller schools and states not well represented haven't really had the opportunity to have their voices heard. So with this COVID, we've had the opportunity to create a lot of committees, and each state is very well represented in each of these committees, and they keep working together immensely and putting out great information and just talking consistently and spreading the word of what's going on in the region. And I think because of that, it's really just brought Region 4 together as a whole. And I think, we're just trying to do the best we can and stay the course.
Yeah, and to touch on that for Region 6, we're really trying to work within our region and reestablish relationships within states and then within subregions, because we are a little bit spread out. Some states have a lot of schools, some states have very few schools. So we're really trying to work within ourselves, and then also establishing new workshops that we're going to be doing for those subregions and state specific. So working more on the local level than on the larger level. And then hopefully working to do a student lead on with information on that coming out hopefully sooner or later.
Awesome. Sounds like a lot of great adaptations and ways to overcome COVID and still engage the students in the region. So if each of you were to describe your time so far on the student leadership team in one word, what would that word be?
I would say impactful. It's kind of a big word that just encompasses everything that I've felt from the few months that we've been here.
I'm going to go with fluid, just because there are just so many, turning gears and different things happening all at once. We're all pushing forward together.
My word would be engaging, because I feel like not only have I been engaged, but also we've been able to engage a lot of different students through our perspective caucuses and through even just the other NERSA events, ideas and motions, etc.
I'm gonna say unexpected and leave it at that, because I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
I'm kind of going to tie what Maeve and Ross said. Progressive. What's going on in this country is not well, and we are, as a group, trying to make the best of what we can.
I'm gonna go with learning. It's just been a constant learning opportunity, and kind of like with what Ross said, it's just keeps moving. So you got to be on your feet and ready to learn.
Adaptive. Every day is a new challenge, and you've got to adapt to it.
Altogether, I think that's a strong host of words to describe the year so far. So all leadership positions within NERSA are a learning experience. What are some things that y'all are hoping to get out of your experience as student leaders, and how have your expectations changed over the past few months while serving in your roles?
I think new perspectives is something that I was hoping to get before and that I'm still getting now. That really allows me to appreciate what I provide and what I have available, but then also be able to compare and contrast with other regions, other people, and those differences I really think help me grow in my position and also help other people grow, as well as growing our programs. So it's just a continuation of NERSA getting bigger and more progressive and exciting. And of course, initially anticipating those interactions to be in person would probably be the change for this year, but I definitely think with COVID, there's kind of been this perfect storm for these deeper conversations and deeper connections where we're really looking at, mental health and equity and diversity and inclusion and problems and issues that may not have been addressed prior, and now really hoping to continue exploring and finding my voice in all of these.
I think for me, sort of along the lines of what Tanika was saying, is like, although we're missing out on the in-person interactions, I think we have a really unique opportunity that so far we've been taking advantage of, but to work and connect with students that otherwise we might not have been able to connect with, like students that otherwise couldn't attend conferences, but it's a lot easier to sign on to a Zoom than it is to fly or drive a couple hours to attend one of our in-person events. But I also just think that, like, for me, the biggest takeaway that I want is to be challenged on the way that I think, challenged on the way that I do things, because I think, everyone brings something different to the table, sort of like Tanika was saying again, those different perspectives challenge me to think of things differently. And then, of course, just hoping to connect with students and professionals within my region, and then also nationally, again, because I'll be able to connect with people that I might not otherwise have been able to.
If you asked me when I first accepted this position back in January, or when I was told back in January, I was going to say I am most excited to travel to the other states, other regions, and meet these new people and get their new experiences. I've been in Ohio my entire rec career, my entire life. I've never lived anywhere but Ohio. So I was really excited to see how different places, different states work and operate. And now that everything is virtual and travel is essentially non-existent, I'm really excited to be working with these state reps, the rest of the SLT, to gain those experiences and build these connections virtually.
When I first came in, I was mostly hoping to gain a more global perspective on campus recreation. When you're at your institution, it's really easy to get caught up in what you're doing and your programming and what you're doing for your students, but it's important to be able to have that bigger picture and know, like, as a profession, like, where do we want to move? Like, what are goals within NERSA? So really gaining that perspective was important to me, as well as having the opportunity to make those connections. And while they look a little different with COVID and everything, I think it's still super important, if not more important, to make those connections. And then something that I put in my application that I was really excited about, that this is kind of, as someone else said, the perfect storm for, was the opportunity to reach more people. Not everyone can maybe afford to go to a conference or has institutional support to do that. So to be able to provide these opportunities is super cool to me.
Sounds like despite the barriers, y'all are still able to do that, to reach all of the people both in your regions and within NERSA. So I commend that. How do you think you've grown professionally from serving on the student leadership team so far?
That's a really good question, Steph. I think the biggest thing that will continue to help me grow professionally with my time on the SLT is the fact that the majority of the work that we're doing right now is online and remote. And I'm working with all these different recreational professionals and students across both Canada and the United States. And I think it's just a very useful skill that, you know, being able to collaborate with different projects with individuals that, you know, I may not have the opportunity this year or next year to meet them in person. So I think building these relationships through technology, I think, is a very useful skill.
Yeah, I agree with Ross. I also think, in my opinion, it's what we're doing. We really have to think about what it's going to impact in the future. What are we doing that can help the student leaders who step in our place next, the student state reps, and so forth. And I think as long as we keep looking to the future, it's gonna help everyone out. Because what we're doing now it's not just for the future, but it's also making an impact now. And I think as long as we keep doing that, we're going to be just okay.
Yeah, I would really add to that just professionally growing, I would say independence. I don't think I've ever had the freedom in a position like this to kind of push what I want and move in a certain direction. So independence has been key. Recruitment in this position, you know, we're constantly looking for those next generation of leaders, those next people to step into certain positions, whether that be in our states or, you know, in our lives or our next generation of SLT leaders. So recruitment has been something very interesting in this. And then lastly, revitalization. You know, we're in a time of everything's changing and everything's growing, and we're trying to revitalize in this new world that we're in. You know, we're all a little bummed about certain things that have been going on in our lives or in the world in general, but we're trying to revitalize and remotivate ourselves to continue pushing forward and just continue to grow individually, but also as a group.
Absolutely. Sounds like a lot of growth, and I'm excited to see how you all continue to grow coming in the next few months of your term. So what does a typical day look like as a part of the student leadership team? How do you balance the responsibilities of being a student, responsibilities on campus with your positions, and the responsibilities of being a student leader?
I'm still kind of feeling as though I'm almost in that undergraduate experience because I live off campus but walking distance. So I wake up, I head over, I work out, and my office is literally connected to our gym right here. So everything's kind of in the same place. I definitely try to get my graduate assistant responsibilities taken care of first, mostly because I'm on the East Coast and a lot of the rest of our regions are heading back to earlier time zones. So most of the time when everyone else is available will be my afternoon or later afternoon. So that's the way that I found that it works best for me to be able to plan these out. And then I live by my Google Calendar. So having that always open and being able to color code and see when I have things planned for different positions that I have, and then also keeping that open communication with my supervisors is very important, so they don't feel like they're no longer a priority or my graduate assistantship is taking a second seat, but also recognizing that I have some responsibilities with the SLT and some initiatives that I'm really passionate about and wanting to be able to take the time and space to get those done with my whole earnest work.
Truthfully, since coming into this role, I can't really say that any day has been the same as the last. So it's hard to give like a typical day. But I would say like as the school year starts and I, fall more into a regular schedule, it'll just basically consist of like consistently checking and keeping up with my different responsibilities, whether it's GA responsibilities, student leadership, internship, or also just like class. I have a lot going on, so just trying to stay organized, like Tanika said, with the calendar, and definitely focus, because that's what's going to keep me on like a path. But also trying to squeeze in like a workout and of course relaxation time. I don't know about you guys, but I love watching TV, so that's usually how I unwind. And then most importantly, getting a lot of sleep, because that's what keeps me sane. I don't drink coffee.
I'm very similar to Maeve in the ways that I don't right now. Don't really have a set schedule right now. Classes haven't started yet. We're in the week of training week, but once it does start to look normal, I'll wake up, put in a few hours of GA work. Some of these are in person, some of these are virtual, depending on what day it is. And then I try to remember to eat lunch. That's like my number one thing this year, is to try to remember to eat before 4 p.m. After lunch, I'll check emails, check in with SLT, because once again, on the Eastern time zone, there we go, that's the words. And then depending if I have class, all my classes are in the evening, so go to class, come home, and then sleep. I also don't drink coffee, so if I don't get at least 8 hours, I am no good the next day. So
Yeah, I'd say I don't, even before COVID, I don't really have a typical day. Part of my GA responsibilities includes event planning, which is very, it's very seasonal. And right now, especially since events are up in the air, it'd be like we wait to plan till like the week or two before. So that's been kind of crazy. Then I also oversee like the front desk staff. So making sure that schedule's full. If it's not, I'm here working it. It's a lot of checking emails, keeping up with my calendar, Zoom. Like everyone else said, I kind of try to get my GA responsibilities done and then looking on SLT, but I'm able to be pretty flexible. My entire academic program's online already, so I squeeze in coursework where I can when I have a free hour here or there. And then most importantly, I just try to carve out a little time each day for myself, whether that's getting a workout in, cooking a nice meal, watching some TV, whatever it is.
Wonderful. I'm glad to hear that you were all able to add those personal things that you need, workouts, meals, relaxing, things like that, because it definitely keeps you in balance. So what do you think is the most valuable thing that you've learned from your professional representatives so far?
I think the most valuable thing that I've learned is to just believe in your abilities and put yourself out there. There's no shame in trying. And if you fail, they're going to help you and they're going to guide you along the way.
I also believe no matter what we're doing, individually or as a group, we always have to put the maximum effort to it, whether it's something simple or something large. And we always have to be honest with ourselves and with others about what we are doing and how we're doing it.
Yeah, and for me, it's really been to be as inclusive as possible and try to reach as many people as you can, and making sure that what you're doing is welcoming to everyone, and then not being afraid to dream big. In this day and age, go as big as you possibly can and see where you end up. There's no harm in trying to do that. Yeah.
So what is something that you all are looking forward to for this upcoming year?
I definitely think it's already started, but getting creative with how we're going to be engaging and providing content this year, kind of continuing the collaborations that we've already started and making sure that those bridges and partnerships are only further facilitated and enriched.
It's honestly a little hard to choose one thing that I'm excited for. So I'm going to keep it to two. But I guess the first one would be being heavily involved with the Region 1 virtual student engagement and just our student lead-on that we'll be having in October. And then also increasing the student leadership team's social media presence and highlighting student stories.
If anybody's familiar with Region 3, you already know that our signature event is Region 3 Student Lead On, and I'm extremely excited to be a part of the planning committee for the first ever virtual Region 3 Student Lead On. So we expect all of you to be there because we are very excited to put it on for you.
I'm also excited for virtual opportunities, but I'm kind of excited for the challenge it presents because I feel like everyone is moving to these virtual platforms. So how do we innovate and how do we be different and do something exciting that not every other organization is doing? So I'm excited for that challenge and to pose that to myself and other students.
It sounds like a lot of things to look forward to, and I know that we'll all be looking forward to them as well now. So thanks for sharing. So a lot of students look to y'all for examples of different ways to volunteer or to get involved in NERSA. Are there some volunteer opportunities that you've enjoyed participating in the past? And what are some opportunities for those students who may be looking for opportunities to get more involved in NERSA?
Yeah, for me, last March, actually, we ran our first ever Canadian Unified Basketball Tournament. So I helped volunteer with that at Western University. And, planning the event, running a social after, a dinner and a dance with all the athletes. It was super fun. I really enjoyed my time working on that project. So there are lots of little opportunities like that within NERSA, as well as like positions that are becoming available as well. So Canada is actually already looking for individuals to take on provincial leader positions, and as well my position as a Canadian student leader next year. So be on the lookout for those opportunities coming up soon.
Some of the events I like to volunteer are the extramural tournaments. Going from officiating those to being on the staff to help out with those, it's a different aspect inside of those, and I've really enjoyed that. Like I previously mentioned, Region 4 is doing some committees, whether it's social media, intramurals, etc. That's a very good way to help out and volunteer. And like I know everything's virtual now, but our conferences as well. I've only attended one regional conference, and that was last year, and this year is going to be a lot different, but that's also one way for students to help out.
Yeah, like Grayson, I've really enjoyed doing the sports tournaments. I've done 2 basketball and a flag football, and then I also volunteered at the regional conference last year. And I would say that for students, it's really, first of all, getting involved on your campuses and getting involved with your pro staff, because they're the ones that are really going to be able to link you with a lot of the resources that are going to be coming up. So for students, I would say really just knowing when things are going on in your region is the first step, and then reaching out to those pro staff to have them help you get involved and sign up for those events that we're going to be putting on virtually, but you can still meet new people and diversify the people you know within our great organization.
Absolutely. Thank y'all. So what is your favorite quote or piece of motivation that has shaped you as a young professional? Something you'd want to share with other young professionals listening?
My quote is, making a living and making a life sometimes point in opposite directions. And I actually heard this from a novel by Pico Iyer. He's an incredible travel journalist and writer. And I think Kate had mentioned she was pre-med. There was a time in my life when I wanted to be a surgeon. And so I was definitely in that idea with a lot of wanting to help people, but also really wanting to make sure that I was financially stable, and then recognizing, is this really what's making me feel light and passionate and excited? And it wasn't, and started moving more towards fitness, where I definitely felt like my passion was being built, and I could feel myself getting excited to go to work every day. And so that's something that's really been guiding me, is as I'm going through my day-to-day, of course, there are tasks that you have to do to get the job done, and there are things that you may not be as excited about, but knowing that at the end of the day, if I can ask that guiding question of, does this make me happy, that's absolutely what's going to drive my next decisions. And so I would hopefully encourage, especially now as times are so crazy and uncertain, and maybe that financial stability is becoming more important to people, also recognizing that your happiness and what's going to make your life fulfilled and joyful is a little bit more important at the end of the day.
Maeve, do you have a quote or a piece of advice to share?
Yeah, so mine is not so much a quote, but rather just, taking words from my mentors from my previous institution, and just take advantage of every opportunity possible, even if it means getting out of your comfort zone. So especially as, an undergrad or even as a GA, opportunities present themselves, or, your directors ask you to do something, just, if it's within reason, of course, say yes, and because you never know what could come from that opportunity.
What I am living by right now is that someone in my cohort, in my GA cohort, said we're all juggling a lot of balls. It's important to know which are glass and which are rubber. Knowing that which responsibilities we have that can bounce back and others that will just shatter when you let them go.
One I heard a long time ago. It's talent is hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. I do know that there is someone always better at something than I am, but I know if I continue to work harder than them at that, then I will be able to catch up and or surpass them in that area.
I heard this a long time ago. I don't know where, and I always modify it when I say it to myself. But if it won't matter in 5 years, don't spend more than 5 minutes worrying about it. I think we all have challenges, and when I have one or when something goes wrong in my life, I think, is this going to be that important to me next week or next month or even next year? And if the answer is no, like, why let it tear me up? Like, why let it make me feel some sort of way and make it, bring me down? So just realizing that we all have challenges and we'll get through them. So it's not worth, letting it hurt you emotionally.
And for me, it's one of my favorite quotes, and something that I've been kind of looking at more recently, is that it always seems impossible until it's done. So we all have those long goals or those challenges that we see far ahead of ourselves, whether that's a paper or planning a conference or something that seems like, I don't know if we're ever going to get there, and it seems impossible until you get it done. So you just got to keep working towards it and keep moving, and eventually you will get it done. And that's why we all are in the positions we are, because we want to get things done and we want to keep moving forward.
Wow, everyone has such awesome quotes. So my quote is something that my high school basketball coach always used to tell us. The grind don't lie. You may not be the most gifted person. You may not be the most skilled, but one thing you can do better than everyone else is work hard. And the grind doesn't lie. Eventually, life will pay dividends.
Yeah, those are wonderful quotes. Thank you all for sharing. I know a lot of people will resonate and feel inspired by them as well. So those are the questions that we had scheduled for today. If y'all had anything else that you wanted to share, things we didn't ask, or things that you're wanting both the students and professionals listening to know, now would be the time to share them.
Hi all, sorry, I was trapped backstage. Just a few things. I had mentioned our Student Perspectives Caucus. So our next one's going to be on September 16th at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you check out our Ideas in Motion page, it'll be on there where you can register. It is free. And with that, if there are any conversations or topics that you'd be interested in bringing up, you're welcome to get in contact with us if you're interested in co-facilitating, which means you're going to help guide the discussion. It's a really great opportunity, not only for networking and professional development, but just to really meet new people and share your own perspectives. So if you're interested, definitely get in contact with us. We'll have our contact information at the end. And then lastly, looking at some of our social media. So if you guys want to give us a follow, we've been doing some Tuesday trivia, which I have been failing at, but it's okay. It's a nice way to keep your brain active, especially if you're working from home all day. So definitely check us out there. We're going to have information coming out about our nominations and applications. So if you're interested in joining us on the SLT next year and being a part of this really incredible journey, we'll have some more information coming out there as well. And lastly, looking at our next steps and what it is that we want to do, I'd mentioned Give to Grow kind of extending into this new opportunity for us that we're looking to do, Donate to Diversify. So we're looking at a student-supported fund to support that diversity within NERSA, whether that's going to be through scholarships or continuing education, such as professional speakers. We're really trying to find ways that we can make our impact viable in a new virtual world. And so always open to more collaborations and ideas there. And yeah, we just really want to hear the student voice and the student perspective throughout this year. So that's all from me.
Wonderful. Well, we thank you all so much, both the people that are watching and for the student leadership team being here today. We wish you all the best of luck and appreciate getting to know you and being led by you this year. It looks like we do have one question that was added. Sorry, I see a note. Am I missing it? Okay, yes, sorry. So we had one question come in from Twitter. So what advice would you give to a student who's thinking about serving in one of these leadership roles?
I would love to answer this question if that's okay with everybody. So I've been fortunate enough to be in a few leadership roles in the student position within NERSA. Last year, I was on the NERSA assembly as one of the student reps, and now obviously Region 3 student leader. And the main advice I can say is go for it. Apply, apply, apply. You'd be surprised at how much more you get out of these positions than you ever thought, especially if you are thinking about applying for the assembly. It's a very unique opportunity. Sometimes you might not even know what these positions entail. You applied because someone said, hey, I think this would be good for you. And you go, okay. Apply, apply, apply. You're going to get so much more out of it than you ever think.
Absolutely. Anyone else have anything to add to that? Tanika, I see you on.
Yeah, I would say very similar to Karen. I find myself doing this all the time in my SLT position, in my GA-ship, is taking a deep breath, counting down 3, 2, 1, and just go. So when I submitted my application, that's what I did. When I start most of my days, that's what I'll do. And yeah, I think it's just really taking advantage of this year as it is so different. It may have changed some of your opportunities in the coming year. And so jumping on whatever is available because those doors are opening to you for a reason.
You'll never know unless you try. And even if the answer is no the first time, you never know what will happen with the next. So I think those are really encouraging words. But we appreciate, again, y'all for being here today. This has been really insightful. We have one more question coming in. So how would you invite new student leaders into these roles? How do you replace yourself with someone else who's passionate and engaged? I think Maeve had something that she was hoping to say about this one. So we'll do some switching around to get her.
Yes, thanks, Stephanie. I just want to say if anyone is interested in this role or professionals know of students who might be interested in the role, push to them to come, or you yourself come to any of the events that we're offering and message one of us on the side or email one of us privately, and we'll be more than happy to share any information about the role that we have. And we really want anyone that's like slightly interested to even just find out more information. And I think replacing ourselves is, I don't like to think of it as replacing ourselves. It's finding new people that are going to bring something new to the table. And yeah.
Yeah, just to add on to what Maeve said, we love it when people reach out to us. Like, part of the question was, how do you replace yourself with someone as passionate and engaged? And if I find someone who I think can do the job better than me, I would love for them to replace me, 100%.
Absolutely. I think that's a testament to a leader, someone who recognizes that other people are capable as well. And I know y'all are doing a great job at utilizing other people to fit into those roles. So yeah, thank y'all again for sharing, and thanks everyone for sending in those questions. I think it definitely was insightful and added to the conversation, but we'll go ahead and wrap things up for today. If you're watching this on YouTube, like they said, feel free to reach out to them later. Sliding into DMs may be frowned upon, but it's encouraged within the student leadership team. You heard it here first. So until next time, we will see you on Rec Chat in the future, but thank you everyone.